The Great Hall of the Galactic Council had never felt so empty. Ambassador Kaleth stood at the center podium, his blue skin pale with exhaustion. Around him sat the representatives of 47 civilizations, and every single one of them looked defeated. The war had been going on for 3 years now. The Kresh swarm had appeared from the outer edges of the galaxy without warning. They consumed everything in their path. Entire planets had been stripped of life. Beautiful cities that had stood for thousands of years were now nothing but barren rocks. The Viridian Republic had lost 12 colony worlds. The Threxian Empire, proud warriors who had never retreated in their 10,000-year history, had abandoned 6 star systems just last month. Even the Zephyr Collective, with their advanced technology and powerful shields, were running out of space to run to. Keyleth looked at the holographic display floating above the chamber floor. Red dots marked Kresh-controlled territory. It covered nearly half the map now. The blue areas representing free civilizations grew smaller each day. "We are losing," Keyleth said quietly. His voice echoed in the silent chamber. "In 6 months, perhaps less, the Kresh will reach our core worlds." After that extinction, no one argued. Everyone knew he was right. War Marshal Court of the Threxian Empire stood up. His massive body, covered in thick gray scales, bore countless scars from 3 years of constant battle. "Then we die fighting," he growled. "As warriors should." Several representatives murmured their agreement. It was better than surrender, at least. "There might be another option," Kaleth said carefully. The chamber fell silent again. Everyone leaned forward, desperate for any hope. "I propose we contact humanity." For a moment, no one reacted. Then the chamber erupted in noise. Representatives shouted over each other. Some laughed. Others looked angry. "The primitives?" someone called out. "They have barely left their own star system." "Humanity has been in space for less than a century," another voice added. "What could they possibly offer us?" Keleth waited for the noise to die down. He had expected this reaction. "I have studied humanity for 50 of their years," he said. "They are young, yes. Their technology is crude compared to ours, but they have something we lack." "And what is that?" asked Representative Thala of the Zephyr Collective. Her tone made it clear she thought this was a waste of time. "They know how to fight total war." More laughter echoed through the chamber. War Marshal Court, however, did not laugh. He stared at Keyleth with interest. Keyleth activated another hologram. Images from Earth appeared, floating in the air for everyone to see. Battlefields covered in mud and blood, cities reduced to rubble, mushroom clouds rising over devastated landscapes. "In their short history, humans have fought thousands of wars," Keyleth continued. "They have fought with swords, with guns, with chemical weapons, with nuclear fire. They have killed millions of their own species in conflicts that lasted years or even decades. That makes them barbaric, not useful," Thala said with disgust. "Perhaps," Keyleth admitted. "But we are civilized and we are losing. The Kresh do not follow our rules of war. They do not care about honor or conventions. They simply consume and multiply. To defeat an enemy like that, we may need warriors who think differently than we do." War Marshal Court stood again. "The ambassador is right," he said in his deep voice. "We fight with honor. We avoid civilian targets. We give warnings before attacks. We try to minimize casualties." He paused, his scarred face grim. "The Kresh do none of these things. They are insects, not warriors, and we are losing to them because we fight like the enemy shares our values." "You cannot be serious," Thala said. "You want to bring these violent primitives into our space? Give them access to our worlds?" "I want to survive," Court replied simply. "If that means asking for help from species we consider beneath us, then so be it. Pride is a luxury the dying cannot afford." The debate continued for hours. Some representatives argued that humanity would be useless in the war. Others worried that humans might be dangerous if given advanced technology. A few even suggested that losing to the Kresh would be better than stooping to ask primitives for help. But slowly, desperately, the tide turned. Because in the end, every representative in that chamber knew the truth. They were going to die. Their families were going to die. Their civilizations were going to be wiped from existence. Any chance of survival, no matter how small, was better than none at all. When the vote finally came, it passed by a narrow margin. The Galactic Council would send a message to Earth, requesting military assistance against the Kresh swarm. After the chamber emptied, Keleth stood alone in the dark, staring at the holographic map. The red zones had grown even larger during the debate. Somewhere out there, more people were dying right now. War Marshal Court approached from behind. "Do you really think they can help?" he asked quietly. Kalith did not turn around. "I watched their historical records," he said. "Humans have survived ice ages, plagues, asteroid impacts, and their own self-destructive tendencies. They are like weeds. No matter how many times you cut them down, they grow back stronger. That does not answer my question." Keyleth finally turned to face the old warrior. "The Kresh are a hive mind. They think as one. They move as one. They follow patterns. Every species in this council fights rationally with strategy and honor." He paused. "From what I have seen, humans are capable of being completely irrational when threatened. They will sacrifice anything to survive. Cities, morals, even their own lives. And you think that makes them suitable allies?" "No," Keyleth said softly. "I think it makes them the only ones who might actually win." Court was silent for a long moment. Then he placed one massive hand on Keyleth's shoulder. "I hope you are right, Ambassador, because if you are wrong, we will have wasted our final days on false hope." "If I am wrong, we die either way," Keyleth replied. "At least this way, we tried everything." The message was sent that night. It traveled across the vast distance between Council space and the Sol system, carrying a simple plea. "Help us, we are dying." No one knew if humanity would even respond. They were not members of the Council. They owed the galactic civilizations nothing. For all anyone knew, humans might simply ignore the message and fortify their own system. But Kalith had studied humanity carefully. He had watched their entertainment, read their history, analyzed their psychology. And he had learned one crucial thing about them. Humans could not stand by and watch others suffer. It was not in their nature. They would send help even to strangers, even to aliens who had previously ignored them. The question was not whether they would come. The question was whether they would arrive in time, and whether they could possibly make any difference against an enemy that had defeated every advanced civilization in the galaxy. Deep in his heart, Kalith believed they could. He had to believe it, because hope was all they had left. The message from the Galactic Council arrived at United Earth Command at 3 a.m, Geneva time. Admiral Chen Wei was still awake when it came through. She had not been sleeping well lately anyway. The communications officer burst into her office without knocking. "Admiral, you need to see this now." Chen looked up from her reports, ready to be annoyed. But the expression on the young officer's face stopped her. Fear and excitement mixed together in equal measure. "Show me," she said simply. The holographic display activated. An alien appeared, blue-skinned with large dark eyes. He introduced himself as Ambassador Keyleth of the Viridian Republic. Then he explained the situation. A species called the Kresh Swarm was destroying the galaxy. Dozens of civilizations were facing extinction. The war had been going on for 3 years. They were losing badly. They needed help. Chen watched the entire message twice without saying a word. Then she leaned back in her chair and stared at the ceiling. "Get me the Secretary General," she said. "Wake up the Joint Chiefs. Contact every department head. I want everyone in the war room in 2 hours." "Yes, Admiral. Should I tell them what this is about?" Chen smiled, but it was not a happy expression. "Tell them the aliens finally called. And they are not coming in peace. They are running away in terror." The war room filled quickly. Generals, admirals, scientists, intelligence analysts, and politicians crowded around the main table. The message from Kalith played again. Then again, everyone had questions. "How do we know this is real?" someone asked. "Our deep space telescopes have been tracking unusual energy signatures for 2 years now," replied Dr. Okonkwo from the Science Division. "We thought they were natural phenomena. If what this message says is true, we were actually watching their war from a distance. Can we even reach them in time to help?" asked General Torres. "Their coordinates put them 4 months away at maximum acceleration," said the navigation specialist. "But that is just to reach their front lines. The war's happening across multiple systems." Secretary General Huang stood up. She was a small woman, but when she spoke, everyone listened. "The real question is, should we help them? Earth has no obligation to these aliens. They never contacted us before. They ignored our attempts to communicate for decades. Now they want our help?" Chen had been quiet until now. "With respect, Madam Secretary, that is not the real question." Everyone turned to look at her. The real question, Chen continued, is can we win? She stood and walked to the display, manipulating the holographic controls. Images from the alien message appeared. Crash bioships, battle formations, destroyed planets. Look at how they fight, Chen said. The Galactic Council forces maintain formations. They engage in ship-to-ship combat. They follow patterns. Their battles last for weeks or months. She zoomed in on footage of a crash attack. Thousands of organic ships swarmed over a defensive line like locusts. The crash fight like army ants, Chen continued. Overwhelming numbers. No fear of casualties. They just keep coming until the enemy runs out of ammunition or energy. General Torres frowned. So, that is a difficult enemy, but what is your point? My point is that I have seen this before. Chen pulled up historical footage from Earth. World War II. Vietnam. The Eastern Front. Swarm tactics. Human beings invented these strategies thousands of years ago, and we also invented ways to defeat them. She changed the display again. Now it showed chemical warfare. Carpet bombing. Nuclear weapons. Scorched earth tactics. The aliens fight with honor, Chen said. They have rules, conventions. They probably avoid certain weapons because they consider them immoral. She looked around the room. We have no such limitations. Dr. Okonkwo looked uncomfortable. Are you suggesting we commit war crimes against these Kresh? War crimes only apply to sentient beings protected by law, Chen replied coldly. From what I saw in that message, the Kresh are a hive mind. They are not individuals. They are a single organism spread across billions of bodies. She paused. You do not negotiate with cancer. You cut it out. The room fell silent. Secretary General Huang studied Chen's face for a long moment. You think we can actually win this war? A war that has defeated civilizations thousands of years older than us? Yes, Chen said without hesitation. Because they have been fighting the wrong way. They are trying to win honorably. We just need to win. How long would it take? Asked General Torres. Chen turned back to the display. She had been running calculations in her head since the message arrived. Give me 3 days to analyze their data. Give me 1 week to plan the operation. Give me 300 ships and authorization to use any weapon in Earth's arsenal. And then what? Huang asked. And then I will end their 3-year war in 5 hours. The boldness of the statement shocked everyone. Several people started to object. Chen held up her hand. I need access to every military database, she said. Every historical record of swarm tactics and how they were defeated. I need biologists to study the Kresh physiology from the images we received. I need our best programmers to analyze their communication patterns. And I need all of this by tomorrow morning. That is impossible, someone protested. Then we will fail and billions of aliens will die and eventually the Kresh will come here, Chen replied. So I suggest you find a way to make it possible. Secretary General Huang stood silent for a long time. Everyone waited for her decision. Finally, she nodded. You have your authorization, Admiral. 300 ships. Any weapons you deem necessary. God help us all. The room exploded into activity. People rushed to their stations. Calls went out across the planet. Every military base went on high alert. Factories that had been producing civilian goods started retooling for war production. Chen returned to her office and started working. She did not sleep for the next 72 hours. The data from the Galactic Council was extensive. 3 years of battles, millions of casualties, detailed scans of Kresh biology and ship design. It was a treasure trove of information. Chen assembled a team of specialists. Military historians examined how humans had fought against overwhelming numbers throughout history. Biologists studied the Kresh and identified them as similar to Earth insects, particularly ants and wasps. Programmers discovered that the Kresh used pheromone-based communication, chemical signals that coordinated their actions. On the second day, Dr. Okonkwo made a crucial discovery. The Kresh are not just similar to a hive mind, he explained. They are a hive mind. Look at these patterns. The smaller ships never act independently. They always respond to signals from larger ships. Queen ships, Chen said immediately. Like a beehive or ant colony. Exactly. Kill the queen and the colony collapses. Chen smiled. It was the first time she had smiled genuinely since this started. How many queens do they have? Based on the coordination patterns across their territory, I estimate between 5 and 10, maybe a dozen at most. Find them, Chen ordered. I want to know where every single queen ship is located. By the third day, the plan was complete. Chen presented it to the Joint Chiefs. Some of them looked horrified. Others looked excited. All of them understood that it might actually work. The fleet began assembling in orbit. 300 warships, the largest military force humanity had ever gathered. But these were not ordinary warships. They carried weapons that had been banned by international treaty. Chemical agents, biological weapons, nuclear warheads, kinetic kill vehicles. Earth was preparing to fight a war the way only humans knew how, without mercy, without honor, with nothing but the cold determination to survive. Admiral Chen stood on the bridge of the flagship, looking out at Earth below. Somewhere down there, her family was living their normal lives, going to work, going to school, completely unaware that humanity was about to step onto the galactic stage. Set course for Council space, she ordered. Maximum acceleration, and prepare all weapons for deployment. The fleet moved out, leaving Earth behind. They were going to save the galaxy, or die trying. The Kalos system had been beautiful once. 3 inhabited planets, dozens of mining stations, and a vibrant trade hub that connected 5 different civilizations. Now it was the last line of defense before the crash reached the core worlds. War Marshal Court stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Unbreakable Will, and watched his fleet die. 3,000 Threxian warships faced off against more than 50,000 Kresh bioships. The numbers told the story. They were losing. Another cruiser lost, reported his tactical officer. The thunder of dawn, all hands. Court said nothing. There was nothing to say anymore. He had watched hundreds of ships die over the past 3 years. Each loss hurt, but he could not let it show. His warriors needed to see strength, not grief. War Marshal, we are receiving a transmission, the communications officer announced. Unknown origin. The signal is strange. Show me. A human face appeared on the screen, female with dark eyes and short black hair. She wore a military uniform that Court did not recognize. This is Admiral Chen Wei of the United Earth Fleet, the human said. We are responding to the Galactic Council's request for assistance. Transmitting our approach vector now. Court stared at the screen. The humans had actually come. Against all expectations, the primitives had answered the call. How many ships do you bring? He asked, trying not to sound too hopeful. 300. The bridge fell silent. Then someone laughed. It was not a happy sound. 300 ships. Against 50,000 Kresh, it was nothing. Less than nothing. Court felt his hope die before it had even fully formed. Welcome to the battle, Admiral Chen, he said, keeping his voice steady. Every ship is appreciated. I will send you our formation coordinates. We are holding the line at... We will not be joining your formation, Chen interrupted. Court blinked. Excuse me? I need all intelligence data you have on the Kresh. Biology, communication methods, command structure, everything transmitted immediately. Admiral, with respect, we are in the middle of a battle. Coordination is essential. If you do not integrate with our defensive line, your defensive line is failing, Chen stated bluntly. You have lost 40 ships in the last hour alone. At this rate, you will be overrun in 6 hours. Court's scales bristled with anger. Then help us hold the line. No, Chen's face remained calm. I did not come here to delay your defeat. I came here to win. Now send me that data. The human transmission ended. Court stood in stunned silence. Around him, his officers looked confused and angry. Should we share our intelligence with them? Asked the tactical officer. Court thought about it. The humans were arrogant and rude. They had no understanding of military cooperation. But they were also the only reinforcements coming. And something in Admiral Chen's voice suggested she had a plan. Send them everything, he ordered, and track their fleet. I want to know what they are planning. The human ships appeared on the tactical display 15 minutes later. 300 vessels, emerging from faster-than-light travel at the edge of the system. They were smaller than Threxian warships with unusual designs that looked primitive compared to Council technology, but they moved fast. Faster than any ship Court had ever seen. War Marshal, the human fleet is changing course, reported the sensor officer. They are heading directly into the Kresh swarm. What? Court pulled up the tactical display. The officer was right. The human ships were not moving to join the defensive line. They were accelerating straight toward the densest concentration of Kresh forces. They are going to be slaughtered, someone whispered. Court opened a channel to Chen's flagship. Admiral, what are you doing? You will be surrounded. Chen's face appeared again. Correct. That is the plan. That is suicide. No, War Marshal. That is war. Chen looked at something off-screen, then back at Court. We have analyzed your 3 years of battle data. We know exactly what we are doing. I suggest you pull your forces back 1 million kilometers and wait. Wait for what? For us to end this. The channel closed. Court watched helplessly as the human fleet plunged into the Kresh swarm like a knife into flesh. The Kresh reacted immediately. Thousands of bioships turned to intercept the humans. It was their standard tactic. Surround the enemy, overwhelm them with numbers, tear them apart. But the humans did not fight like the Threxians. They did not maintain formation. They did not engage in ship-to-ship combat. Instead, they scattered. Each human ship moved independently using random acceleration patterns that made no tactical sense. They dodged and weaved through the Kresh swarm like fish in water. The bioships tried to follow, but their hive mind coordination could not adapt to such chaotic movement. Then the humans started releasing something. What is that? Court demanded. What are they deploying? The sensor officer studied his screens, confused. Chemical compounds, highly complex organic molecules. They are flooding the area with them. Court watched as clouds of gas spread through the Kresh formation. The bioships flew through the clouds without apparent concern. Then they started attacking each other. War Marshal, the Kresh are breaking formation, the tactical officer shouted. They are fighting amongst themselves. It was true. Across the battlefield, Kresh bioships turned on their neighbors. The coordinated swarm dissolved into chaos. Ships collided. Weapons fired randomly. The precise hive mind organization collapsed completely. What did the humans do? Court breathed. His science officer provided the answer. The chemical compound. It is similar to Kresh pheromones, but altered. The humans are broadcasting false signals. The bioships cannot tell which commands are real and which are false. On the tactical display, the human ships continued their seemingly random movements, but Court could see the pattern now. They were not moving randomly at all. They were herding the Kresh, driving them toward specific targets. 7 massive Kresh ships sat at the center of the swarm. Court had seen them in every battle but never understood their purpose. They were larger than the others, more heavily armored, but they rarely fought directly. Now as he watched, human ships converged on all 7 simultaneously. Those are the Queen ships, Court realized aloud. They are the command nodes. Sir, the humans are launching missiles, the weapons officer reported. Nuclear warheads. Hundreds of them, nuclear weapons. Court had heard of them from human historical records. Primitive fission and fusion devices. The Galactic Council had banned such weapons millennia ago as too crude and too dangerous. The humans apparently had no such concerns. The first Queen ship died in a ball of nuclear fire. The second followed moments later. Then the third and fourth together. With each Queen destroyed, a section of the Kresh swarm went dark. Ships drifted without purpose. Some continued attacking randomly but without coordination. The hive mind was fracturing. The 5th Queen tried to flee. Human ships pursued it relentlessly, ignoring the smaller bioships that swarmed around them. More missiles. More nuclear fire. The Queen died screaming across all frequencies. The 6th Queen lasted longer, retreating into a cluster of asteroids. The humans did not hesitate. They fired kinetic weapons. Massive chunks of metal accelerated to a fraction of light speed. The asteroids shattered. The Queen shattered with them. The 7th and final Queen was trying to open a faster-than-light portal to escape. Human ships closed in from all sides. This time they did not use missiles. They simply rammed it. 3 human ships collided with the Queen at full speed. All 4 vessels exploded. The nuclear reactors breached. The fireball lit up space like a new sun. And then, silence. Across the Kalo system, 50,000 Kresh bioships drifted without purpose. Some moved randomly. Others attacked anything nearby, including each other. But the coordinated swarm was gone. The hive mind had been destroyed. Court stared at the tactical display in disbelief. 1 hour. The battle had lasted 1 hour. His fleet had been fighting for 3 days straight and losing. The humans had arrived, ignored all tactical doctrine, and destroyed the enemy command structure in 60 minutes. Admiral Chen's face appeared on the screen again. War Marshal Court, I recommend you destroy the remaining Kresh ships now while they are disorganized. My fleet is moving to the next system. We have detected crash signatures in 6 other locations. You are leaving? Court could not believe it. We need to secure this system, evacuate wounded, repair. You can do all that after the war is over, Chen interrupted. Every minute we waste, more people die in other systems. We are moving on. But you lost ships, Court protested. You need time to regroup. We lost 17 ships, Chen said calmly. Acceptable casualties. The mission continues, Court stared at her. 17 ships, 17 crews, dead in an hour, and she called it acceptable. Who are you people? He whispered. Chen smiled, but it did not reach her eyes. We are humanity, War Marshal. We are very good at one thing, winning wars. Now if you will excuse me, we have 6 more battles to fight today. The transmission ended. Court watched as the human fleet departed, accelerating toward the next combat zone. Around him, his officers stood in shocked silence. They had just witnessed something impossible. A primitive species barely 50 years into space travel had accomplished what the galaxy's greatest warriors could not. And they had done it in 1 hour. Court sat down heavily in his command chair. Begin cleanup operations, he ordered quietly, and compile everything that just happened. Admiral Chen stood on the bridge of her flagship, the New Dawn, and watched the tactical display light up with targets. 6 star systems, 14 Crash Queen ships identified so far, millions of bioships swarming across occupied territory, 4 more hours to end this war. Status report, she ordered. Second Fleet engaged in the Varo system, reported Commander Jackson. They have located 3 queens. Estimated elimination time 23 minutes. Third Fleet entering the Kelvin Nebula, added Lieutenant Morrison. Heavy crash presence. 2 queens confirmed. 4th through 6th fleets are en route to their targets, finished Commander Park. All ships are green across the board. Chen nodded. The plan was working. After destroying the queens in the Kilo system, her fleet had split into 6 task forces. Each one had a specific target. Each one knew exactly what to do. Find the queens. Kill them. Move to the next target. Simple, brutal, effective. Admiral, we are receiving a priority message from the Galactic Council, said the communications officer, Ambassador Keleth. He says it is urgent, Chen sighed. Put him through. The blue-skinned Viridian appeared on screen. He looked distressed. Admiral Chen, I have been receiving reports from across the front lines. Reports of extreme weapons usage. Define extreme, Chen said, though she knew what was coming. Nuclear weapons, chemical agents, kinetic bombardment of crash-breeding worlds. Admiral, you are targeting non-combatant populations. Chen's expression did not change. The Kresh are a hive mind, Ambassador. They do not have non-combatants. Every single organism is part of the military structure. But the breeding worlds, there are juveniles there, young ones who have not even developed full consciousness yet, which will grow into warriors in a matter of weeks. Chen replied coldly. We are not here to fight fair, Ambassador. We are here to eliminate the threat, permanently. Khalith looked horrified. This is genocide. Yes, Chen agreed simply. It is, because the alternative is your genocide. Would you prefer that? The ambassador had no answer. Chen continued, her voice hard. You called us because you were losing. You called us because your honorable warfare was not working. You cannot ask us to save you and then complain about our methods. There must be limits, Keyleth protested weakly. Even in war, there must be rules. We had rules on Earth once, Chen said. Conventions, treaties. They lasted until someone broke them. Then we learned the truth. Rules only work when both sides follow them. The Kresh do not follow rules. They consume everything, so we will eliminate them using any method necessary. She leaned forward. You want to keep your civilization safe? You want your children to grow up in peace? Then accept that we are doing what you could not. And do not question our methods again. The transmission ended. Chen turned back to her displays. She could feel her crew watching her. Some of them looked uncomfortable. Others looked determined. Admiral, Commander Jackson said quietly. For what it is worth, I think you are right. Chen smiled tiredly. It does not matter if I am right, Commander. It only matters if we win. The battle in the Varo system was already over. Second Fleet had cornered all 3 queens in a planetary ring system and destroyed them with focused nuclear strikes. The Kresh swarm in that region had collapsed. Third Fleet was having more difficulty. The Kelvin Nebula was dense with gas and dust, making sensors unreliable. The two queens there were hiding, using the nebula as cover. Commander Sarah Lynn was leading Third Fleet. She had been a submarine captain before joining the Space Navy. She understood patience and stealth. They can hide in the nebula, but they still need to communicate with their swarm, she told her crew. Track the pheromone signals. Find the source. Her ships moved slowly through the nebula, sensors sweeping constantly. The Kresh bioships attacked in small groups, trying to drive them out. Lynn ignored them. Small prey. She was hunting bigger game. Contact, the sensor officer announced. Strong pheromone signature bearing 270. Distance 400,000 kilometers. All ships converge on that location, Lynn ordered. Weapons free. The Third Fleet emerged from the nebula clouds like sharks from dark water. The first queen never saw them coming. Missiles struck from 6 directions simultaneously. The massive bioship broke apart under the assault. The second queen tried to run. Lynn had anticipated that. She had positioned ships along all escape routes. When the queen fled, it ran straight into an ambush. Kinetic weapons tore through its organic armor. It died within seconds. Vero system secured, reported Jackson. Third Fleet has eliminated both targets in the Kelvin Nebula. Chen marked them off on her tactical display. 3 systems cleared. 3 more to go. But the next 3 were not going to be easy. Fourth Fleet had found something unexpected in the Tholis system. Not just queens, but a breeding complex, an entire planet that the Kresh had converted into a nursery, billions of juvenile organisms. The next generation of the swarm. Admiral Rodriguez commanded Fourth Fleet. He was a veteran of Earth's corporate wars, a man who had made hard decisions before. But even he hesitated when he saw the scale of what they were facing. Sir, sensors confirm massive biosigns across the entire planet, his tactical officer reported. 90% are juveniles, presentient. Rodriguez stared at the planet below. Green and blue once, probably beautiful. Now it was covered in organic structures, pulsing hives that stretched across continents. His orders were clear. Eliminate all Kresh presence permanently. Ready the planet cracker weapons, he said quietly. Sir? The tactical officer looked uncertain. You heard me. Ready the kinetic kill vehicles. All of them. The crew worked in silence. Everyone knew what this meant. They were about to kill billions of living creatures. Yes, those creatures would grow into the enemy. Yes, they would eventually consume other worlds. But right now they were just young. Weapons ready, Admiral. Rodriguez took a deep breath. Fire. Massive chunks of dense metal accelerated to incredible speeds rained down on the planet below. Each impact released more energy than dozens of nuclear weapons. The planet's crust cracked. Shockwaves rippled across the surface. The organic structures burned. Within minutes, the entire planet was a molten hellscape. Nothing could survive there. Nothing would grow there for 1,000 years. Rodriguez sat down heavily. His hands were shaking. Mark the system as cleared, he said, his voice barely a whisper. Proceed to the next target. 5th and 6th Fleets were working together in the Murado system. They had found the largest concentration of Kresh forces yet. 4 queens, maybe more hidden in the asteroid belt. Hundreds of thousands of bioships. Commander Takeshi Chen, no relation to the Admiral, led 5th Fleet. He was the youngest fleet commander, only 35 years old. But he had a gift for tactical analysis and a mind that thought 3 steps ahead. We cannot fight them all directly, he told Commander Maria Santos of 6th Fleet. Too many targets. We need to make them panic. How do we panic a hive mind? Santos asked. Takeshi smiled. We make them think they are dying. His plan was audacious. Instead of attacking the queens directly, 5th and 6th Fleet would deploy biological weapons throughout the asteroid field. Engineered viruses designed to attack Kresh physiology. The virus would not kill them immediately. It would make them sick, disrupt their communication, cause pain and confusion. A hive mind shares sensations across all units, Takeshi explained. If millions of bioships start experiencing agony simultaneously, the queens will feel it too. They will be overwhelmed, and that is when we strike. They released the virus in pressurized containers that burst across the asteroid field. Within minutes, Kresh bioships started behaving erratically. They fled from nothing, attacked randomly, crashed into asteroids. The 4 queens tried to coordinate a response, but the flood of pain and confusion from millions of infected units overloaded their processing. They could not focus. could not think clearly. Human ships moved in for the kill. The queens died one by one, unable to defend themselves effectively. System cleared, Takeshi reported. Moving on to final target, Chen marked another system on her display. 5 down, 1 to go. The final target was the most important. Deep in the Ashtar Nebula, human sensors had detected unusual energy signatures, something bigger than a queen. Something that was coordinating all the other queens across multiple systems. The prime overmind. The source of the entire hive consciousness. Chen had saved it for last deliberately. Kill the smaller queens first, fracture the swarm, then go for the head. All fleets converge on the Ashtar Nebula, she ordered. We end this now. 6 human fleets, now numbering less than 300 ships after casualties, gathered at the edge of the nebula. Somewhere in that vast cloud of gas and dust, the prime overmind waited. Deploy the Pandora device, Chen ordered. The Pandora device was humanity's final weapon, a self-replicating virus designed specifically to target Kresh genetic structures. Once released, it would spread through the entire hive mind via their pheromone networks. Faster than they could adapt. More virulent than anything natural. Earth's biologists had created it in just 4 days. It had never been tested. But the computer models were clear. Once exposed, the Kresh would start dying within hours. The entire species everywhere. Admiral, Commander Jackson said carefully, this weapon. If we release it, there is no stopping it. The prime overmind had existed for 3,000 years. It had consumed 17 galaxies before arriving in this one. It had absorbed millions of species into its collective consciousness. It had never known fear. Until now. The virus entered its system like fire through dry grass. Pain exploded across billions of connections simultaneously. The overmind felt itself dying. Felt every single organism in the hive mind screaming at once. It tried to adapt. The Kresh had evolved for rapid mutation, changing their biology to survive any threat. But this virus was different. It attacked the very genetic structures that allowed adaptation. Every time the overmind changed, the virus changed with it. Across 200 star systems, Kresh bioships stopped moving. Some exploded as their organic systems failed. Others simply drifted lifeless. On breeding worlds, the nurseries went silent. The hive mind, which had spanned half a galaxy, collapsed in on itself. Connections severed. Consciousness fragmented. The unity that had made the Kresh unstoppable shattered into a billion pieces. The prime overmind's final thought was one of confusion. How had prey animals, beings it had considered beneath notice, managed to do what no other species had accomplished in 3,000 years? Then it died, and the thought died with it. Admiral Chen watched the sensor displays as the Kresh signatures across the galaxy winked out one by one. Hours passed. The death spread further with each minute. The virus was unstoppable now, spreading through every pheromone connection, every biological link. Admiral, we are receiving reports from across Council space, Commander Jackson said quietly. The Kresh they are all dying, Chen nodded. She had expected this. The Pandora device was designed to be thorough. Any signs of adaptation? She asked. None. The virus is mutating faster than they can evolve. Their entire species is extinction level. The bridge fell silent. Everyone understood what had just happened. Humanity had committed genocide on a galactic scale. An entire species spread across hundreds of worlds was being eradicated in real time. How long until they are all gone? Chen asked. Estimates suggest 48 hours for complete extinction. Maybe less. Chen closed her eyes briefly. 48 hours. That was all the time left for a species that had existed for millennia. Begin quarantine protocols, she ordered. I want containment fields around every former Kresh world. Nothing gets in or out until we are certain the virus has burned itself out. Yes, Admiral. The war was over. 5 hours after the human fleet had arrived at the front lines, the threat that had terrorized the galaxy for 3 years had been eliminated. But Chen felt no triumph. Only a deep, cold emptiness. A week later, the Galactic Council convened for an emergency session. The Great Hall was packed with representatives from 47 civilizations. All of them had come to discuss one thing: humanity. Ambassador Keyleth stood at the center podium again. But this time he was not asking for help. He was trying to decide what to do about the species that had saved them all. The humans eliminated the Kresh threat, he began. This is undeniable. They accomplished in 5 hours what we could not achieve in 3 years. They saved billions of lives. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the chamber. However, Kalith continued, their methods were disturbing. They used weapons we banned millennia ago. They targeted civilian populations. They committed genocide against an entire species. Representative Thala of the Zephyr Collective stood up. They are dangerous, she said firmly. Too dangerous to be allowed free access to the galaxy. I propose we place restrictions on human military activities. Supervision, oversight, controls. Controls? War Marshal Court's voice boomed across the chamber. You want to put chains on the warriors who saved us all? They are not warriors, Thala shot back. They are butchers. Did you see what they did? Nuclear weapons, biological warfare. They destroyed an entire planet full of juveniles. Juveniles that would have grown into soldiers, Court replied. Juveniles that would have consumed more worlds. The humans did what was necessary. There are always limits to what is necessary. The debate raged for hours. Some representatives argued that humanity should be welcomed as heroes. Others insisted they should be contained, controlled, maybe even expelled from council space. Finally, a proposal was drafted. The Sol Accords. Humanity would be offered full membership in the Galactic Council, but with conditions. Human military tactics would require council approval before deployment. Humanity would share defensive technology, but restrict offensive weapons development. Human commanders would attend training sessions on ethical warfare and civilized combat. The vote passed. Barely Ambassador. Kalith was chosen to present the offer to Earth. He traveled to the Sol system personally, accompanied by a delegation of council representatives. They arrived at Earth to find Admiral Chen waiting for them. The meeting was held in Geneva at the United Earth Command headquarters. Kalith presented the Sol Accords with great ceremony. He explained the benefits of council membership, the technology sharing, the trade agreements, the cultural exchanges. Then he explained the restrictions. Chen listened without interrupting. When Kalith finished, she sat in silence for a long moment. No, she said simply. Kalith blinked. Excuse me? We reject your conditions, Chen stated. We accept the offer of membership. We look forward to peaceful cooperation with all council civilizations, but we will not accept restrictions on our military, our weapons, or our methods. But these restrictions are reasonable, Kalith protested. They are simply to ensure that we do not make you uncomfortable, Chen interrupted. To ensure that you can forget how we won your war for you. She stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the city below. You called us because you were desperate. You called us because you were losing. You did not care about our methods then. You just wanted to survive. We are grateful for your help, Kalith said carefully. But surely you understand our concerns. Your weapons, your tactics, they are brutal. They are effective, Chen corrected. And that is what matters in war. Representative Thala leaned forward. Admiral, we cannot simply allow unrestricted human military operations. You are too dangerous, Chen turned to face them. Dangerous to whom? We saved the galaxy. We eliminated a threat that you could not stop. And now you want to limit us because we frightened you? You committed genocide, Thala said quietly. Yes, Chen agreed. We did. Against a species that was consuming everything in its path. Against an enemy that could not be negotiated with or contained. We made a hard choice, and we would make it again. The room fell silent. We are not your enemies, Chen continued. We do not want conflict with the Council. We want to be part of the galactic community, but we will join as equals, not as subordinates. We will not allow you to dictate how we defend ourselves or our allies. Kalith spread his hands. Then we have a problem. The Council cannot accept a member species with no restrictions on their military activities. It sets a dangerous precedent. Then perhaps we should not be members, Chen said calmly. The delegation looked shocked. You are refusing membership? Kalith could not believe it. No, Ambassador. We are refusing your conditions. If the Council wants humanity as a member, you will accept us as we are. If you cannot do that, then we will simply return to Sol system and defend our own interests. You would isolate yourselves? Thala asked. Cut yourselves off from the galaxy? If necessary, Chen replied. We survived alone for thousands of years. We can survive alone again. War Marshal Court had been silent until now. He stood up, his massive frame dominating the room. The Admiral is right, he said. Everyone turned to stare at him. We asked for their help, Court continued. We begged for it. And when they came, they saved us all. Now we want to clip their wings because we are afraid? He shook his head. That is cowardice. We should be thanking them, not trying to control them. But their methods, Thela started. Their methods won the war. Court's voice shook the windows. Our honorable methods were losing. We can debate ethics and morality after we are sure our civilizations will survive. The humans gave us that chance. He turned to Chen. I will vote for unrestricted human membership, and I will convince others to do the same. Keyleth looked troubled. This will not be easy. Many representatives fear humanity now. Let them fear, Court replied. Better to fear an ally than to be consumed by an enemy. The delegation returned to the Galactic Council with Chen's response. The debate that followed was the longest in Council history. For 3 weeks, representatives argued about what to do. Finally, a vote was called. Full membership for humanity. No restrictions. No oversight. No conditions. The measure passed by 7 votes. When the news reached Earth, there were celebrations in every city. Humanity had joined the galactic community. They were no longer alone in the universe. Admiral Chen watched the celebrations from her office. She did not join them. She was thinking about the cost. 17 human ships lost, 423 crew members dead, an entire species rendered extinct, planets burned, billions of crushed juveniles killed before they could even develop consciousness. The price of victory. Commander Jackson entered quietly. Admiral, Secretary General Huang wants to meet with you. She is offering the position of Supreme Commander of Earth's Armed Forces.